Hello, fellow readers and learners. My name is Selah Moore, and the book I was assigned is The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. It is time to get comfortable and relax as I share the Partner's Prologue with you. Chaucer's profound storytelling transports the mind to 14th century medieval England, where the weather is gloom and the people are doomed. During this time, many suffered from the Black Plague, an overwhelming sickness that took many lives, leaving England's feudal system with angry wives. With only bare bones, empty pockets, and heavy stones, the working demographic tirelessly served the upper class. It is important to note that England's religious dependency and hope sought refuge and governance from the Catholic Church. At this time, to pay for your crime, noble and all purchased pardons that paid for the priest's fruitful gardens. Instead of consoling the sick and mending their debt, the Catholic Church was blinded by self-ambition and disguised false forgiveness as the poor's divine salvation. Now, it is time to connect the dots so that you can understand the plot. The Canterbury Tales is a collection of independent stories that are creatively narrated by each character's pilgrimage to Canterbury. Before the travelers reach their destination, each one confesses their song, exposing England's hierarchy structure. Accordingly, some of the main themes of the meta-narrative concern the imbalance between the spheres of government and religion, church corruption, and the social injustice of three dividing class systems. To properly understand the Partner's Prologue, imagine sitting in a dark booth enclosed with velvet curtains and a small metal grate that separates the priest from the sinner. In this scenario, you are the priest and the partner is the confessor. The prologue is the partner's blatant confession of sins, which encompasses greed, financial exploitations of the poor, and conniving methods he uses to thrive off of parishioners' religious gullibility and desperation. Just know this, every memorable journey begins with a prologue. Fortunately, you are currently accommodated with the context, character traits, and main themes of Chaucer's literary novel. It is appropriately time to introduce you to the meat and potatoes of the Partner's Prologue. The first section begins with the partner addressing the audience, his fellow pilgrims, as "my lords." He then shares the same haughty sermon he consistently preaches each time in a church. The partner has memorized every important detail, including his signature catchphrase, "Greed is the root of all evil." With this in mind, the partner uncovers his tricks and fraudulent ways he gets people to buy his relics. Disguised as Christ's most holy work, the partner displays his paper seal of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church shows off indulgences from popes and cardinals, as well as glass bottles filled with sacred bones. I'll turn this way. Yes. There we go. The partner goes on to promise that the shoulder bone of a Jew's holy sheep will cure any farmer's livestock from worms and diseases. Continuing, the partner insists he has the cure for jealousy and a magic relic to multiply grain. Overall, the first section of the prologue is engulfed with words full of false hope and dishonest promises to persuade people's emotions and detach their reasoning. Accordingly, large sums of money are given to the partner for his good works. The second section of the prologue starts as a warning to the good men and women of the church. This warning is a religious call to confess one's sins by a paper bull stamped with the authority of the partner himself. This warning is not out of concern or compassion for people's lives, but a fear tactic to acquire people's purchases of a paper bull that falsely grants them pardon for their sins. The partner assures his audience that fear is a great motivator to religiously dismay individuals in need of religious exemption. As stated, the partner confesses, "For my exclusive purpose is to win, and not at all to castigate their sin." To conclude the second section, it is evident that the partner's manipulative practice preys on the weak and ignorant. In exchange for his deviant methods, the partner receives fortunate wealth. Tested throughout time, England was groomed to pay for the consequences of their sins and trust the lofty words and sermons of the Catholic Church. Lastly, the third section takes us deeper into the partner's internal thoughts and reasons for choosing a deceiving lifestyle. The partner's principal intent is to make a living off of people's religious scent. He goes on to say, "But let me briefly make my purpose plain. I preach for nothing but for greed of gain, and use the same old text, as bold as brass, greed is the root of all evil." After sharing his open admission, the partner finishes with a sip of ale and asks his fellow pilgrims if they want to hear a tale. Out of a covetous spirit, the partner carries no remorse for his gluttonous career. The swindler says, "For though I am a wholly vicious man, don't think I can tell moral tales. I can. Here's one I often preach when out for winning. Now please be quiet, here's the beginning." Thus, the prologue ends with the beginning of the partner's tale. The Canterbury Tales reveals Chaucer's satire and comedic tones. However, the partner's prologue particularly shows the irony of the partner's lack of self-conviction. In the last quote, the partner identifies as a vicious man, still able to tell a moral tale. Therefore, Chaucer recreates the theme of satire by exposing the Catholic Church's religious hypocrisy and duplicity exhibited by the partner's character. To fully grasp the nature of Chaucer's mockery and witty writing that challenges England's social class system and religious institution, there are key symbols embedded in the partner's prologue, highlighting the partner's double-sided nature. Overall, one of the main symbols in the visual and refreshing season one of the main symbols is the visual and refreshing season of springtime. The symbolism of spring implies an awakening of new beginnings, fresh starts, a coming out of cold winter, and exposure to pure sunlight, which causes new things to grow. Spring, in its purest form, introduces themes of religious revival and socio-economic growth. An obvious symbol displayed in the prologue is a pardon, defined as a piece of paper that symbolizes greed and money. The partner works on behalf of the Catholic Church's work to gain money by selling pardons. Another symbol displayed in the partner's prologue is the picture of a flock of sheep. The sheep in the prologue represent the people listening to the partner's sermon as he lures them into buying more pardons. The entire prologue showcases the partner as a preacher in charge of a flock of innocent sheep, lost and hungry for an enlightening moral tale. In summary, the Canterbury Tales is a set of individual stories that do not resolve. Instead, the reader is left open-ended and secluded to their imagination to determine the outcome. The purpose of Chaucer's political and cultural instigating work is to spark concern for the social structure of England. Hence, each tale is told by individuals from various backgrounds and social contexts. If there is one thing I gained from the text, it's the Catholic Church's unbreakable cycle of religious corruption and misleading people to question their salvation, economic, and social standing in life. The partner's prologue gives the reader a clear view of the condition of the medieval church and the working class's dependency on the domain of religion. Back then, politics did not rule kingdoms. However, the present church or religious establishment was the primary ruler of any land. It is interesting to read about how the sphere of religion overpowered the sphere of government through finances of pardons, the education system, and social injustices such as poverty and the orphan crisis. Today, it is in fact that the sphere of government overpowers the sphere of religion. My final parting and conclusions concern the dynamic relationship between church and state. The fragile balance between the two powers could have severe consequences for society, like what we see in Chaucer's riveting tale. Additionally, social status does not differentiate human experience or feelings. just means of living. All the characters throughout the book are different by means of their social casting, yet they are all similar in their disdain for their current lifestyle or desire to resist the authoritative nature of the social hierarchy that limits their ability to thrive. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Mahalo from the Big Island of Hawaii.